Yeah, there's something about being charismatic where it's warm, it's inviting, it's energetic. It draws people in. You have no choice but to just like this person.
Yeah,
I like this person.
Something about that guy.
Welcome back to Ready, Set, Sell, where we discuss all things sales and help you take your career to the next level. In today's episode, we'll be talking about charisma, a powerful and often elusive quality that can make all the difference in your sales and success. Charisma is often associated with confidence, charm, and the ability to connect with others in a meaningful way. But what is it exactly, and how can you develop it? We'll be answering these questions and more in today's episode, so stay tuned. I'm your host, Donny Wong, and across from me, your co-host today, Michael Siervo.
What's going on, everyone? Donny, good to be here. Yes! The audience is loving it. You know what? I love this topic. You know, charisma is an interesting one, Donny. Like, it's one of those things where I remember when I was became a first, young salesperson, and one of these senior guys walks into a room, and just everyone knew he was there. He just had this presence, and I always wondered to myself, "Shit, how did he do that? Like, how did he just dominate that?" And same thing in school. There's always that cool kid in school. I was never the cool kid, to be honest with you. I had to work. I'm still working on it right now. But this topic is an excellent one. And I'm excited to learn what your thoughts on charisma, can it be learned, and so forth.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those X factors that is intangible. You know it when you see it, you feel it, but at the same time, when you have to question it, it's like bringing it through the ether. What is it exactly? How do we describe it? How do we get it? Is it something that just so many people are talented with, naturally equipped with? But if not, hey, what are the elements and how do we get ourselves a piece of charisma?
That is the thing.
Can it be learned?
Can it be learned? You know what? I think it can. I absolutely think it can be learned. I've seen people who have progressed. It takes a little bit of time. There's some people who are just naturally charismatic. I look at guys, like, I don't know. When I think about charismatic people, I think Barack Obama, or I think
The Rock.
The Rock. Absolutely. Kevin Hart, the guy. Kevin Hart's not a big dude, right? But he has that big personality. And I think as salespeople, you need to have that, because ultimately, if you just talk about features and benefits, it might not resonate.
Yeah, there's something about being charismatic where it's warm, it's inviting, it's energetic. It draws people in. You have no choice but to just like this person.
Yeah,
I like this person.
Something about that guy. Have you ever bought something off of somebody just because they're so charismatic? You're like, man, I don't really need it, but you sold me on whatever it might be.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was one of those trade shows, and they were selling chamois.
Oh, nice.
And it wasn't as good as what's
ShamWow?
That? Not as good as ShamWow, but right up there. Yeah. And I bought a whole pack of chamois. And I was like, yeah, that's right.
This guy was like pitching.
What if I spill something in the carpet? How do I suck it back up? You're telling me I just have to fold this a few times and it'll suck it up? It's like, yeah, I do need that.
You know, I think these people who are just charismatic in general just have certain traits, right? And I think maybe we could go through some of these traits and explain whether or not it could be learned. How do you earn them? How do you get them? I think one of the traits as a salesperson is just like actively listening. I find the charismatic person makes you feel like you're the only person that matters.
Yeah, that's so true. There is that warmth through it. I remember I was in Toronto when I was working for this organization, and it was led from this extremely successful business leader. A billionaire was, the label that was usually attached. And when he walked in a room, the whole room would stop, right? Because, he's here. But what was incredible was how charismatic he actually was. And when he spoke to you, it was like nobody else mattered. He really spoke to you. He remembered details that he talked with you before. And to take that few seconds and to think, wow, the president, the billionaire is taking this time and is fully connected, it really makes you feel special and makes you feel like, wow, what a great person.
Yeah.
He makes me feel like a great person.
Yeah. There's that warmth, right?
Yeah.
And who was it? I think Maya Angelou said, people may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Right.
And I think the charismatic person does that. They just naturally make you feel like, man, I want to spend more time with them. Or it's almost, I'm so fortunate that you're spending time with me because you're so charismatic. You used to be spending time with anybody else. So I think one of the characteristics is one, be a great listener, but by listening, you make people feel really, really important. What else does a charismatic person do?
Well, I would say that they also have the ability to inspire and motivate each other's, making natural leaders.
Okay.
So kind of coming off what we're saying here is because they can make you feel comfortable, because they can make you feel energized, it's a lot easier for them to inspire and motivate you as well. A, because maybe they've earned your trust. B, because it's much easier to follow someone if you think of someone in a higher regard as well.
And I think the charismatic person, that's what a salesperson wants to do, is to motivate them, inspire them, influence them to to make a decision. And hopefully that decision, of course, is the one that benefits not only just the salesperson, but ultimately the person themselves, right? But they got to be inspired to make that decision.
Here's one. Let me know if you agree with this. Is especially with charismatic people, they have a way with words. They seem to have better communication skills. They tend to be better communicators. They're able to connect with others and effectively convey their ideas in a way that even if you don't necessarily agree, you do take that second look and think, you got a point there.
Right. It's not only the delivery of what they're saying, but the words that they're using. They're just great wordsmiths.
That's right.
And like I remember just have a meeting with salespeople, and when they use these power words, I'm like, oh, it's really compelling, right? And if you say, hey, look, I'm going to give you, I guarantee that this is going to help you. The word guarantee, whether or not it may or may not, right? But it's just one of those powerful words. So I agree with you. I think words matter, but if you could deliver those words with a very charismatic, very energetic delivery, it's just even more powerful. I think another thing that charismatic people do by nature is they have great body language. Again, we talked about a guy walking in the room. I'm pretty sure when that billionaire walked into the room, he didn't have slumping shoulders. His eyes weren't looking at the ground. He just wasn't twiddling with his fingers. He walked in with presence. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a big person, but you take up space. I think that charismatic person it exudes, that the size of their personality exudes their body.
Yeah, and a part of that as well is the energy that they not only command, but what they exude. I would love to hear your thoughts on that part of how charismatic people, how do they generate energy? How do they manipulate energy?
Yeah, it's tough. I think sometimes, I don't know. I don't know if naturally a charismatic person is going to be an extrovert or an introvert. I don't know, right? We haven't really talked about that, or haven't done enough research on it. But what I certainly think is the charismatic person controls their energy. They know they could be having the worst day ever, but when they're in the zone, like it's all about that other person. They're putting on that show. They're putting on their 100%. The energy is one of that positive ones where you're like, man, I could feel your vibe. I could feel the authenticity, right? And I would say that the truly charismatic person has the ability to transfer their positive energy to you. They're a conveyor of energy, whether it's through words, whether it's through eye contact, whether it's body language, whether it's overall aura. I think that charismatic person has that. I've been in rooms where some person walks in the room. I don't know what it is, but something about that person just has this presence.
What do you think about this, where you say it's the presence, but I feel like it's the positivity mixed with the confidence?
Yeah.
A confidence that you already know that they are confident about themselves. Therefore, their positivity doesn't come off as I don't want to say foolish, but not contrived, but what is that called? Inexperienced. They're coming through with confidence. They seem like they really know what they're talking about. Right. So I believe this guy already.
Yeah. And I think that charismatic person, although they're confident, sometimes a confident person can intimidate the other person. I think a truly charismatic person can have that confidence, but also instill confidence in others and make them feel confident about, let's say, for instance, a truly charismatic person can inspire someone to speak up in a meeting or share their ideas where maybe they didn't have that confidence before, but because that leader was just so compelling and created an environment would feel safe to share your thoughts, that charismatic person allows, transfers confidence from themselves, which they have an abundance of, and instills it in other people.
Absolutely. So they're inspirational, they're aspirational, they're confident, and they're endearing. Anything else we missed? What else makes the charisma cocktail?
I find that a really good charismatic person is also authentic.
Yes.
Right? We kind of touched on that. You could kind of sniff fake people. You can sniff. You're like, he's saying the right words. He has the presence, but there's something douchey about him.
Right.
I find that a really good salesperson is authentic. It doesn't necessarily mean that salesperson has the biggest personality. I find that the truly charismatic person has that aura of authenticity, that aura of safety, and I think they're also really good, like how they establish that authenticity is they're great storytellers. I think as a salesperson, if you want to be very charismatic, be a great storyteller as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that almost in parts how we dissected it makes them naturally better salespeople and better leaders, because the way that they come off, the authenticity that comes off, they don't have to put on a big show.
Yeah.
It's very subtle how they're sub-communicating all these things of endearment, of being honest, of having high values, of being a wordsmith, but at the same time using stories, that high level communication to inspire that confidence. It's so much easier to capture attention, keep attention, and to ultimately make sure that, hey, love and trust me within the first 10 seconds of us meeting.
So do you think we kind of alluded to this at the beginning, but do you think a charismatic person, that trait can be learned, or is it, or just people are naturally gifted with charisma?
I think it's a little bit of both, because all the things we said, they're not exactly hard to obtain. Listening to people in the right way, not hard to obtain. Right. Having self-confidence, not that hard to obtain. Being a wordsmith, hey, takes practice. It's not like it's a gifted skill. So if we took the skills that we talked about, I would make the argument that yes, this can be learned.
Yeah, I think as a salesperson, if you're listening to this and you may not have that confidence, or you may not have that charisma, if you practice those things that we talked about, that practicing authenticity, being authentic, being a great storyteller. I also think that confidence comes with just knowing your stuff, right? Understanding your product, that's the given, right? But if you take the details of what you're talking about, the benefits and features, convey it in a message that is highly energetic, highly relatable, high energy. I truly think that the skilled salesperson can walk in, and that could be the difference between the person thinking, I don't really need this, to them saying, I kind of want it, because he really sold the sizzle of the steak.
Right. So what would you say would be some great tools that people who may not be charismatic, how can they learn it? I think one of the best resources right off the bat, you and me talked about it, there's a great YouTube channel called Charisma on Command.
Great. Yeah.
And he breaks down, what he does is he takes these clips from all over the internet, but ones he uses best is interviews with Hollywood stars, whether it be from Craig Ferguson to Tom Holland. And he breaks down exactly what they're doing, almost play by play of how charisma works. But what other tools would you say would be great for an initial tool belt, or to help salespeople equip in their toolbox?
That's an interesting one, because one of the things that I've always done is I've looked at people who I thought is charismatic. I'm not necessarily breaking down an interview, but just to see how they are and what are the qualities that make them charismatic. And when you use them as an example, one of my bosses, his name was Damon Murchison. This guy was just a rock star in the sales industry. And I would always say, okay, when I'm in a tough situation, I'm going to walk on stage, if I'm going to do a presentation, I would always ask myself, how would Damon conduct himself?
What would Damon do?
What would Damon do? At one point in time, I was like, what would Obama do? I just found Obama has this great energy to him. What would he do? And a lot of the things that they would do is they would always have poise. I've never seen anyone who's charismatic lose control. So that's another thing. And as a tool is control your emotions, control your energy, but have this poise. Because when you have that poise, you just seem super confident. And when you're super confident, of course, that leads into that aura of charisma. I would also say a tool that I would use is, as a salesperson, the charismatic person doesn't beg. He doesn't beg for the sale. He makes it almost seem like you want to do this. you want to buy this. You know, I can't imagine a salesperson saying, begging and pleading to close a sale. It reeks of desperation.
Right.
And that confident, charismatic person is complete opposite. He's like, yeah, if you don't want to go here, if you don't want to go on a date with me, go go somewhere else, right? If you don't want to buy my product, it's okay. You got plenty of other fish in the sea.
That's right. That's right. It comes from abundance. Abundance, almost a tenet of where confidence comes from, where there's no lack.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. They're not coming from a place of scarcity. They know that there's, like you said, plenty of fish in the sea. You know who does it really well? Who is not a salesperson, but really brings that charisma to life is Jennifer Lawrence.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Tell me why.
Have you ever seen her on any interview? I think she's walked up, to accept awards and fell on the stairs and whatnot, and she can laugh it off, no problem.
Yeah.
She can laugh at herself. She can laugh at the situation, and you can always tell it's going to be a fun, joyful time. She's not gonna take herself too seriously. Yet at the same time, you know that she's a high level at her craft. And another great mix of somebody who's very charismatic, especially when we're talking about in the terms of leadership. They know their stuff. They perform at a high level. But when you speak to them, there's no air of what would that be called?
Snootiness, arrogance. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, it makes them very warm, makes them very approachable, makes them likable, which once again, when you mix that with the energy, the authenticity, just makes human connection so rewarding to talk to these type of people.
Yeah, I think you nailed something with Jennifer Lawrence. One thing that's made her so endearing is that she is likable, right? You can relate to her. You know that she's a successful actress. At one point in time, she was the highest paid actress, but she fell walking up on stage, right? She laughs it off. She talks about how she had a crush on, can't remember one of these interviewers, but she is so human and relatable. And I think what that does, that charismatic person, allows you to see yourself in them. I'm like, yeah, that's me, right? And I think another tool that I found the charismatic people do is they really control their overall surroundings or the tone or tone and setting of the environment. So you kind of alluded to this. You said how Jennifer Lawrence, it's going to be a fun, lighthearted interview, versus, I don't know. Let's see. Who's a great? It was Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
Right. Great guy. But the tone of his interviews are a little bit, herky jerky, very deep, right? Whereas Jennifer Lawrence, she controls that. And the truly charismatic person is a master of their environment.
You know who's a good contrast to Jennifer Lawrence is Jordan Peterson, where high intellectual, great at what he does. You'd watch him for any kind of reason, but not a charismatic character. So if anyone's looking for the opposite, I would say Jordan Peterson is maybe not charismatic, but has a lot of the same types of qualities. So if you guys want the big contrast there, that's what I would say. Whereas say maybe an extreme version of charisma, maybe someone like a Russell Brand.
Yeah.
The comedian from the UK who's just bursting at the seams with charisma.
Yeah, it's funny because one thing I like about Russell Brand is he doesn't drink, he doesn't do anything. So it's a natural charisma. I remember some people would have that liquid courage. They would drink to go into a club. He's just naturally like that. And
it lets him get away with a lot of pushing the envelope as well. He can say all kinds, because he's a comedian, so he can joke about, he can take the joke to the extremes. He can endearingly make fun of you as well.
Yeah. And I think as salespeople though, we kind of have a license to do that, right? Because as salespeople, if you're talking to a salesperson, you know that they're pitching something. If you walk into the car dealership, you know that their job is to sell you on that. You're not going to walk in, some guy's going to be walking up to you trying to serve you coffee or, sell you on whatever, paint. He's going to sell you on that car. And the truly charismatic one utilizes that license to be able to do all of the things like storytelling, make you feel important, listen to you, understand exactly your needs, convey that message back, have confidence, smile, have the body language, all of that stuff. That salesperson has that license to do that. So I could see that even as a salesperson, you don't necessarily have to be a comedian, but you can get away with a little bit more. You could tell a story because it's almost expected.
Yeah, absolutely. Greater likability is definitely up there. They're much more likable when you're charismatic for all the reasons we said. Positivity, you make people feel good about themselves. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it makes you a much more enjoyable person to be around. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what people judge you most. If we're gonna come full circle, I think no one encapsulated better than that Maya Angelou quote.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do, all people care about is how you make them feel.
Exactly.
And what charismatic people do is they make you feel either confident in yourself, or they make you confident in the person who you're talking about, the charismatic person themselves.
You know, I found a quote just to end off that thought, and it said, "Charisma is not so much getting people to like you as getting people to like themselves when you're around."
Oh, that's it.
Nailed it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. But that, guys, what do you guys think about charisma? Did we miss anything? Is there something that's burning at you right now? Because you know what? These two missed this. Well, write it down in the comments. Send it to us because you know what? We read every comment and every DM. So again, this is Ready, Set, Sell. You're joined by Donny, Wong, and of course, Michael Siervo.
All right. Thanks, guys, and good luck.
Cheers, guys.